yogis who are here in this meditation center, they have been practicing according to the teachings of the Buddha in the tradition of the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, with the guidance and instruction given by their meditation teachers. Some of the yogis have been practicing for more than 1 month already. Some of them been here for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and some of them are here for just a few days. And Sayadaw has been encouraging the yogis to practice respectfully, meticulously, and yogis are developing Vipassana, Jhana, insight knowledge, and it is satisfying to see yogis who are developing Vipassana, Jhana, insight knowledge. And Sayadaw is happy to give the Dhamma gift an hour a day, explaining about Satipatthana practice, which are in accordance with the teachings of the Buddha, combining with theory as much as Sayadaw is capable. And through the practice, yogis have understood the meaning of Anupasana, and especially by noting whatever object that is arising at the present moment with sustained mindfulness, and the person being atapi, the person who has ardent effort, exerting ardent effort so that the noting mind will reach the object of meditation. Noting the object with aim and effort, sati, mindfulness, sticks onto the object. And as much the mindfulness sticks onto the object, sati will become good quality sati. And the sati mindfulness will become intensely outstanding sati and will be called satipatthana. When satipatthana is fulfilled, khanika samadhi, momentary concentration, is automatically involved. So one should be aiming, directing the noting mind onto the object in order to develop mindfulness. And when mindfulness develops, khanika samadhi, momentary concentration, also develops automatically. So there is also sampajanya, clear comprehension. When the noting mind sticks onto the object, yogi discerns nama rupa, cause and effect, and yogi understands the connection of the nama rupa as cause and effect. And yogi also discerns the arising and passing away of the object arising at one moment, dissolving at another. Discerning the arising and passing away of the object, yogi begins to develop Vipassana Jhana, insight knowledge. And yogi discerns the fast arising and passing away of the objects. But Sayadaw will not explain in detail how these knowledges arise. As some of the monks, they imitate what is explained, they imitate in their report, and they report imitating what is explained in the talk. So that's why Sayadaw does not explain the development of these knowledges in detail. What Sayadaw has been explaining is the way how to practice. The example is given here. When working out a mathematical problem, the teacher will guide the student the formula in order to solve out the mathematical problem as well as the way to solve the problem. So by using the correct formula and solving the problem systematically, one gets the answer by himself, by herself. So in the same way, Sayadaw gives the formula how one should be mindful of the object. Practicing according to the formula that Sayadaw guides to be mindful of the object and practicing accordingly, one can develop Vipassana Jhana, insight, knowledge. And Sayadaw earlier on had told the yogis that he would explain about Jhana. And today Sayadaw will explain what is Jhana as he had promised to explain. Jhana is also defined as Upanijjhana. Jhana means observing. Observing means looking, watching in order to see. It is not just watching ordinarily, but one should observe in detail. If the person looks at something from a distance, the visible object will not be clear. The way she sees will not be clear. So the person has to take a look closely. And when looking at something, one should look the entire object. Only then it will be complete. When noting rising of the abdomen, one should observe rising from the moment the abdomen starts rising, and one should observe the entire rising. Yogis should not be observing the beginning, middle, or the end. They should not be looking for the beginning, middle, or the end. What they have to observe is the rising from the time the abdomen rises all the way through until rising finishes. And in the same way, yogis should be noting falling of the abdomen from the time the abdomen starts to fall all the way through until falling ends. And in the same way, yogis should be mindful of lifting, moving, placing, bending, stretching, turning, and so on. So these objects are the whole field of objects to be noted. Within these fields of objects to be noted, one should note the presently arising object as soon as the object arises, so that the noting mind reaches the object. And one should observe the object entirely so that the observance will be complete. And in Pali it is called Jhana. In other words, it is also called Upanijjhana. Jhana is also called as Upanijjhana. And there are two types. The first one is Anapana. The object of the jhana differs. The first type of the object of jhana is Anapana, and the second type of object of jhana is Lakkhana. The first type, Anapana, when the person is practicing for Lokiya jhana, mundane absorption, the person has to observe the Paṇḍitā concept as the meditation device. For example, when the person practices Paṭṭhī-kasina, the person has to observe the disk of soil as the object. And the person who practices Karuna has to observe, contemplate on the being. And the samatha practice, in order to gain the mundane absorption, one has to observe the paññatti concept as the object, and one develops lokiya jhana, mundane absorption, stage by stage, and it is called aramana upanijjhana. And combining these two, the name becomes aramanupanijjhana. So here in this center, it is not necessary to explain about aramanupanijjhana in detail, as this meditation center does not give guidance on the mundane happiness. And this center is not the place where one practices Vipassana based on Jhana. So it is the place, this center is the place where the pure Vipassana is practiced. The second type is Lakhanupanijjhana. Lakhana means marks or sign. So every object has its own sign or mark, even though its signs or marks may either be obvious or not obvious. Every nama rupa also has its own unique characteristics. And also these nama rupa, they do not stay the same. They pass away after arising. Because they pass away, they are no good. The nama rupa are not atta themselves, and there is no atta involved in the nama rupa, and it is the common characteristic. Observing the unique individual characteristics, common characteristics, and the calm characteristics of Nibbana, observing on these characteristics is called Lakhanupanijjhana. So there are two types, Aramanupanijjhana and Lakhanupanijjhana. Jhana means observing closely, concentratedly on the object. Noting, observing closely, concentratedly on the paññatti concept is called Aramanupanijjhana. Observing closely, concentratedly on the unique individual characteristics, sabhava lakhana, and common characteristics, samanya lakhana. In other words, the practice of Vipassana is called Lakhanupanijjhana. To explain it briefly, Samatha Jhana or Aramanupanijjhana is the observance of the paññatti concept. Observing the paññatti concept as the single object of meditation, one gains Samatha Jhana. So the objective of practicing Samatha Jhana is not to know the characteristics of the object but it deals with the mind calm, collected on the single object of Paṇḍitā concept. By practicing samatha jhana, one can calm and tranquil the nivarana hindrances. The hindrances, nivarana, hinder the wholesomeness from arising, and these nivarana pollute the mind. Practicing samatha, pachanika dhamme sametiti samatho, it means that practice of samatha calms and suppresses the hindrances, nivarana, such as kama chanda, sensual desire, and so on. So through the practice of samatha, the hindrances are calm and suppressed by observing the single object of Paṇḍitā concept. So the practice of samatha jhana is the practice where the mind is calm, steady on the single object. Lakhanupaniccana is the name of Vipassana Jhana. In the practice of Vipassana Jhana, one has to observe the nama rupa that are arising as cause and effect. And these nama rupa, they arise due to the circumstances and conditions, and they are called sankhara. So the nama rupa that arise due to favorable circumstances and conditions, each of them has their unique individual characteristics as well as common characteristics which are common to all nama rupa. By observing the nama rupa that arise, one comes to discern the unique individual characteristics and common characteristics, and one develops vipassana. So discerning the unique individual characteristics and common characteristics is called vipassana, and observing closely on these nama rupa, it is also jhana. So these nama rupa arise only when there are favorable circumstances and conditions. Now there is the example of hearing. Saraji giving the talk, and his voice gets to the ear, and there is hearing. So there are many conditions and causes. To explain it in the Abhidhamma way, the eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, nose sensitivity, tongue sensitivity, body sensitivity, and the mind sensitivity are the base elements which arise, which are produced by Kamma, the past seed, which are supported by Citta, Udu, and Ahara, consciousness, temperature, and nutriment. And these are called sankhara, and they are the base elements. The object, visible object, strikes the eye sensitivity, the sound strikes the ear sensitivity, and seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness take place. The striking of the visible object On the eye sensitivity is the cause. The cause is the striker element, which is the visible object, and the eye base. And the effect will be seeing consciousness, seeing contact, and seeing feeling. So on the sixth sense door, these objects, visible objects, sound, they strike, and there will be seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, and so on. So the seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness are arising as effect. The base element, the eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, and so on, they are produced by karma, the past deed. Also supported by citta, udu, and ahara, consciousness, temperature, and nutriment. In the ear, the sound wave strikes the ear sensitivity, and the voice of a person is produced by citta, the mind. So the mind-made materiality, the voice of the person strikes the ear base, and also it gets the support of temperature. So the sound wave strikes the ear, and hearing consciousness takes place. So the voice is produced by citta, the consciousness. Hearing consciousness is produced by karma, one seed, which is also supported by citta, udu, and ahara, the mind, temperature, and the nutriment. And when there are pleasant sounds to be heard, there will be pleasant feeling. So in this way, hearing consciousness takes place when the sound wave strikes the ear base. And on the ear base, the sound and the hearing consciousness come into contact, and it is called phassa. When there are good sounds to be heard, there is good feeling. So the ears and the sound, they arise produced by the karma together with the other conditions, and they are the paramattha, the ultimate reality which really exists, which can be directly discerned. In the practice of Vipassana Jhana, one should observe the objects that are arising due to circumstances and conditions. All these objects arise and pass away. They are suffering, and one needs to observe so that one comes to know the common characteristics. In the case of hearing, hearing arises and hearing passes away. The sound also arises and passes away. There is nothing that is permanent. There is nothing that lasts long. And it is anicca lakkhana, characteristic of impermanence. And also the person hears things. The person may hear sounds that are unbearable, that the person does not like. Even the sounds that the person likes, if he/she hears the sound he/she likes over and over again, after some time, the person gets bored. So the sounds become tormenting to the person. The person gets bored that he or she no longer wants to hear. So in this way, the nama rupa are constantly tormenting. Even though the sound may be pleasant, liked by the person, but if there are no favorable circumstances, hearing will not take place. Even if the sounds are unpleasant that are disliked by the person, such as the cursing sound, but if there are favorable circumstances, the person will hear these sounds which she does not like. So in this way, hearing takes place not according to one's own wishes. One does not hear according to one's wishes. And there is nothing good or permanent or soul or self. So in this way, there is nothing permanent, nothing good, nothing that is self or soul. Impermanent, suffering, and non-self are the common characteristics that are common to all the nama rupa. In the practice of Vipassana, one has to observe the nama rupa so as to discern the unique individual characteristics. Discerning the unique individual characteristics of nama rupa is not Vipassana yet. And as the person continues the practice, when she discerns the common characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self, one develops Vipassana, and it is also called Jhana, as the person discerns completely, and it is called Vipassana Jhana. Yogis who are here, they are practicing the Vipassana Jhana. Jhana is also explained as Upanijjhana, closely observing completely. So one should note in such a way so that the noting mind will be completely observing, closely observing the object. So in order that the noting mind and the object be concurrent, one should aim the noting mind onto the object. In order that the noting mind should be binded on the object, there should be vichara, sustained application. Vichara is sustained application where the noting becomes effective. So the example is given here when two pieces of cloth are stitched together. Two pieces of cloth to be held together, the needle pierces the two pieces of cloth, the thread follows the needle, and the thread keeps the two pieces of cloth connected and binded. So in this example, piercing the needle into the two pieces of cloth is compared to Vitakka. The thread follows and the thread keeps the two pieces of cloth connected, binded. It is compared to Vichara. And this example is very obvious when stitching two pieces of cloth together with a sewing machine. There will be the seam where the two pieces are stitched together. The needle pierces into the two pieces of cloth. The thread follows and the thread keeps the two pieces of cloth together, connecting, binding the two pieces as if they are one. And as the person stitches, the person feels happy to see the straight line of seam when the cloths are stitched together, and the person feels joy. The person's mind becomes calm, collected, And this is compared to Jhana. And tomorrow, Sayadaw will explain what kind of strengths are needed in order to keep the note mind concurrent on the object. And Sayadaw will explain what sits on the object and what connects or binds the note mind on the object. And as the note mind connects or is binded with the object, one feels happiness and joy. And tomorrow Sayadaw will continue to explain. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.